That's really, really good.
I'm going to walk you through making these super tall and flaky sourdough biscuits. It all starts with cold cubed butter. We toss that into our flour and pinch the pieces together with our hands. That makes these thin layers of butter that expand and steam in the oven, creating that flaky texture we're after. With these biscuits, we're combining our discarded sourdough starter for added flavor and thick, creamy sour cream. It's a little bit different than buttermilk, but it brings a really nice added flavor. I'm using a fork to stir and mix everything together. The tines kind of help that starter get broken up and all the flour hydrated. Then I switch to my hands and I just knead the dough a little bit in the container. I'm not overworking it here, but just enough to get it to come together. If yours is having trouble coming together, you can always add a little bit more sour cream. But here I'm turning it out to my floured work surface. I'm gonna press the dough out pretty gently here into a square shape. Once I've got it spread out a little bit, I like to switch to a rolling pin, just your standard flat rolling pin, and then I start pressing it out this way. Be sure to rotate and flip the dough often. This ensures that it's not sticking to your counter. That butter can quickly get warm and start to get sticky. Okay, I've pressed and rolled the dough out to about 1 inch in height. Now I'm gonna use a floured knife to cut the dough into quarters. Once we have these pieces cut out, what we're gonna do is we're gonna place them all on top of each other. We're gonna create a stack and then press and roll that out again. What we're doing here is we're essentially laminating the flour, butter. After you stack all these, just look at how many layers there are. We're gonna roll out, cut, and stack for a total of 3 times. That's gonna create quite a lot of layers. Usually biscuit dough is folded over itself, but cutting it makes for clean edges and really distinct layers. And it's really easy because this dough is super easy to roll out and work. You can see when I'm rolling this out, I kind of turn the rolling pin instead of just pushing it away from me. Turning it like this in my hands encourages that wood grain to kind of grip the dough. And instead of pushing and sliding it against the surface, I'm actually turning it and flattening it much easier. And now that I have it into another 1 inch thick square, I'm gonna flour my knife and cut it into quarters again. Notice how easy the knife just slides down into the dough. We're not pushing and we're not crimping the edges, we're just cutting right through cleanly with a floured knife. Okay, here we go. We're stacking them and then we're gonna press it out and roll it out into another square. As the dough gets a little bit stronger and a little bit tighter with each roll, you can really see I like to do that rolling effect here with the rolling pin. It really makes flattening this dough out much easier. All right, let's fast forward a bit. I think you get the gist on cutting and stacking. So do that a 3rd time. After the last time, you can see how many layers I have, and now it's time to use a floured knife to trim the edges. Trimming the sides ensures that we're gonna get really nice clean edges and a biscuit that rises super tall. If the edges are crimped, it kind of inhibits that rise, so we're gonna keep it clean. You're gonna have a little bit of scrap dough left over. You can always press that together and make for a 7th biscuit. But here, I'm just gonna show you how I bake off these 6. I saved that scrap for later, of course. After you're done cutting, transfer the pieces to your baking sheet prepared with parchment paper, and then we're gonna bake in the oven. I have my oven preheated at 450 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm gonna bake these for 13 to 15 minutes. In my oven here, they took exactly 14 minutes. When I pull them out, I like to brush them with a little bit of melted butter. All about sneaking in a little bit more flavor wherever possible. And this is a really easy thing to do. Seriously, look at that. I love seeing the individual layers in these biscuits thanks to the lamination that we did, but also the butter and pressing it out into those thin sheets. These really are incredible biscuits, and you get a lot of flavor from that sourdough discard. The flaky texture is incredible, and I honestly just love them spread with a little bit of jelly, but you could add a little more butter too if you'd like. You'll be able to make these biscuits in literally 30 minutes. I hope you put that sourdough discard to use. Check out the video description for all the ingredients.
That's really, really good.